sometimes in the midst of all this, we struggle with ourselves to decide what's the right thing to do. And you can get so caught up in all the anger and bitterness that you're really drawn to do something or be somebody that you never wanted to be, who you never wanted to become. And it's really tough because you have so much anger and hate and bitterness associated with the situation, with what your ex is doing, with how it's affecting your kids, maybe even how your kids are being turned against you. The really tough part with this is to remain true to yourself and do what you would feel good about at the end of the day. That's really tough whenever everything that you valued is being attacked on a constant daily basis. I see a lot of it with emails from people where they are expressing their frustration and they want to lash out. I'm sure a lot of you have had the thought of wanting to stab the tires or do something else to lash back to cause your ex to feel the same type of pain or to feel some consequence for their actions. The problem is that when you go down that path, when you start to make those decisions and you start to fall away from the person you really want to be, you're not being true to yourself and you're not being true to your integrity. You know, at the end of the day, you want to be able to look yourself in the eyes and say, okay, I'm at least doing the right thing. Now, I know some of you can be looking at that and going, whoa, wait a minute. Hold on a second. I've been doing the right thing. I've been doing all the right things and I continually get punished by it. And there's that fine line between defending yourself and doing some things that maybe you wouldn't normally do, like maybe bringing things up in court, documenting things, that type of thing, as opposed to doing something really malicious to get back at your ex. Every one of us has to make the decision that's right for us. I can look back at my situation, and sure, there are some decisions that I made that I'm not basically proud of. Or let me put it to you this way, it was the right decision at the time. It was what I needed to do at the time for my own sanity, but it's something I wouldn't do today. And there lies the rub with this, is how do you know what is the right thing to do, right? I would say one way is just look at what you're going to do and think about the consequences of it. If it's really going to blow up in your face, you obviously want to rethink it. If you just need to lash out, to feel like you've been able to hold your ex accountable for something, I don't necessarily recommend it, but I've been there. I've done that, and I paid the price for it. When I look at it, do I regret it in the big picture? Yes, I could say I regret it because it ultimately made things harder for me. But at the same time, it was a way for me to establish a boundary to basically push back on the ex and say, no, I'm not going to just let you just walk all over me all the time. And had I let those things go and not done those, I would have had a bigger struggle within myself to do it. So it's a really tough balance. The reason I'm mentioning this, or the main reason I'm mentioning this, is that if you can think about what you're doing and look at the long-term effects of it. Let me give you an example. During the government shutdown, not this one that's going right now, but the one that happened a few years ago, a year before it happened, I knew it was going to happen, and I was chatting with the ex saying, look, there's a good chance there's going to be, well, not a government shutdown, it was a furlough thing because of the sequestration. I can't remember what it was called, but there was a thing where if the government didn't come up with a budget, they were just going to slash the DOD. And that was going to result in everybody being furloughed one day a week until it was resolved. I remember chatting with the ex saying, hey, pumpkin, I didn't say that. It looks like there's going to be a reduction. Can we just make a stipulated agreement, because I can't afford to pay you what I'm ordered to pay you if I take a 20% pay cut on top of everything else. The answer was I was either ignored, or the answer was no, or it was stop asking me about it. When the time came, I lobbied to basically take all of the time off in a 2-week period, because that was what it was. It was like 14 days. I'm trying to remember what the exact time frame was. I'm like, look, just give it to me all at once. I can handle one pay period without any money, and then everything will go back to normal, and I'll be okay, and I'm okay with that. That's what I ultimately did. Part of it was to get back at her, because the way, I knew that they were going to it was just going to be bad. So I did that. And what ultimately happened is she got a zero. She got, no paycheck a couple of weeks later, or like 2 pay periods later, when it finally caught up. That was probably the first time in the 2-year period where I actually felt that I had some accountability, and she felt something with it, because she freaked out. And, she reached out to me like, hey, why haven't, how come you didn't send your check? Even though it was being garnished. Anyways, and then when she realized that I went 2 weeks without pay, she freaked out, and it was a mess. Now, what I will say is, at the time, it felt pretty damn good. It felt good to be able to finally be like, okay, everything doesn't always go your way. The problem is whenever you provoke a narcissist, they will look at anything and everything they can to lash out and get back at you. And that's exactly what happened. She turned me in for being a deadbeat dad and not paying child support. Granted, it was out of context, right? So she turned me in for not paying any child support. And, but anyways, it doesn't matter. It unleashed the hounds. They came after me. They crawled through everything as much as they possibly could. They ultimately determined the second time, because the first time she didn't follow through with it. And then whenever I started dating Debbie, then she called Child Support Services back and said, hey, you never made his life a living hell. You need to go back and do that, which they did. So my point is that in retrospect, had I not done it, had I just hunkered down, and realistically that period of time only lasted a few more, a few pay periods. So it ultimately stopped. So it wasn't as many days as it would have been. And I could have recovered from not having them crawl through my behind, not having the county section of it be activated, so to speak. And I paid a price for that. And at the time, it was one of those things where, was it worth it? To this day, I still think it was good for me to do that, because I needed to have some type of victory or some type of accountability in my own mind. But now today, in the grand scheme of things, I see that had I just not let her get under my skin, not, tried to work with her, tried to get her to, because I was chasing her, it was giving her a tremendous amount of narcissistic supply by me doing that. Had I just let it go, had I just hunkered down, I wouldn't have had a lot of other subsequent things happen. Not that it was necessarily a bad thing, but it was just one of those things where, in the heat of the moment, it seems like the right decision, but in reality, it's not great. So for instance, if someone was to ask me the same scenario, that's what I would say. I would basically recount this story I'm telling you and say, hey, really think about it. Really, really think about it. Does it help you get to the goal that you want to get to? Does it help keep stability in your life? Yes, your ex is getting over on you, but they're going to get over on you no matter what. Does it really help you to do this? So I just want to bring this up because I know that I go back and I look at some of past decisions that I've made and I'm like, man, I wish I would have done something different. And if I could help you guys not make those same type of mistakes or rethink your situation to go, okay, yeah, this might feel good in the moment, but where is it going to get me in the future? So on that, I'm going to wrap this up. If you have some comments you would like to add, please add those in the comments below. If this channel is helpful to you, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification so that YouTube will actually inform you whenever new videos are posted or live streams. And I will chat with you on the next video. Take care.